welcome back to Social Butterfly. I'm Bri. Welcome to episode 7. It's going to be a solo episode. I've had a couple guests the last two, and those have been such fun conversations. I'll get more into that in a little bit. But this is a solo episode, and I kind of wanted to say that this, like every other week format, is really vibing for me because, as I've said on the last few episodes, I've been super busy. I've been traveling. I was in West Virginia, I was in Texas, I was back in West Virginia, and I also started this podcast at probably the busiest time of the year for my, actual job. I've had a lot of evening events the last couple months and will continue to for, the next month, but I think once we get through that this summer, I might go back to weekly. It just kind of depends on, what I'm doing, and I feel like it's really up to me to make that decision, so we'll see how it goes. But we have to get through May first, so we'll definitely be on the every other for May, and then we'll see how it goes into the summer and the rest of the year. But I just really quickly wanted to touch on the 2 episodes that I've had before this with Maddie and Macy, because those have been so great. And those are exactly what I wanted from all of this. Okay, if you're watching, you'll notice that we just had a little bit of a vibe change because I just realized that my candles back here were not even lit. I've got my nice fresh spring flowers that smell so good, got all my vibes, and the candles weren't even lit. What is the point of being cozy if the candles aren't lit? But just those conversations with my friends are kind of exactly what I wanted from this. I talked in the very beginning about how important friendships and relationships are to me. And so getting to have 2 of my friends on and to talk to them and have those deeper conversations with them was so great. And that's what I want to keep doing. And eventually, once I get through all my friends, I don't know, maybe I'm doing laundry again. You know what? Here's the thing. I record in my basement. If I'm down here, I'm going to do laundry because I hate having to come down here to do it anyway. So it's always going when I'm recording. Anyway, once I get through my friends, maybe we'll be at a point where we could have other guests on, but I'm really just enjoying having these conversations about friendship, relationships, just all the things. It's just exactly what I wanted from this, and that's really exciting to me. So that has been super fun, and thank you to Maddie and Macy for being on and talking to me. Oh, real quick, I've got an Alani over here and I need to crack it. One of the big things that I want to talk about, first and foremost on this solo episode, is something that I did, now a month ago, I think it was. And I did, in fact, make it my whole personality for a week, but it was kind of a big deal, at least to me. And that is that I went to a concert by myself, and not just any, it wasn't a small concert. It was Kelsey Ballerini's arena tour concert. And if you follow me on my regular TikTok, you know all about it or heard me talk about it. But if you don't, I'll just really quickly explain why I went alone. It was just one of those perfect storm things where all of my friends, well, it was on a Thursday, first of all, so wasn't super feasible for a lot of out of town people to come to without prior planning. And then a lot of my friends here either had to work or have children or were sick or maybe just didn't listen to her, which I totally understand, as far as spending your money to go to a concert, because concerts are not cheap anymore. Okay. And I'm saying that as somebody who goes to several concerts in this economy. Girl, the tariffs, I get it. So yeah, it was just a perfect storm of just people couldn't, and obviously Alec is not here to go with me either, but I had wanted to see her last year when she was opening and couldn't make it work. And so I was you know what? I still want to go. I'm going to go. And so that is what I did. And thankfully my friend Ellis works at the venue that the concert was at. So even though obviously she was working during the event, but I was able to see her afterwards, and I knew that someone was there that I knew, you know what I mean? But I went, and sat between these girls and they were so nice. And there was a couple times when Kelsey talked about like, oh, it being a girls' night out or whatever, and they like turned and high-fived me, which was really sweet. It was like a good concert to go to by yourself as a woman, because there's just like that sense of girlhood at her concert, I felt like, anyway. So that was really fun. And yeah, I had a blast. Now, I'm not gonna pretend that it wouldn't have been more fun if I had been with somebody, because for sure, I mean, at least personally, I think concerts are way more fun when you're with somebody. I mean, half of the experience is like who you go with. But I still had a great time, and it was more so I'm just really proud of myself for doing it. And that is one thing that I think I've had to get kind of good at. Not kind of. One thing I have had to get good at since Alec has been gone, since this whole, almost year and a half experience of a long distance marriage, is doing things alone. Because we're kind of at the point in our lives where a lot of our friends are either also married, or some have kids, or are in relationships, or we're just adults and like you don't hang out all the time. But when you're like alone all the time, it's like glaringly obvious that like, oh, we are not at a point in our lives where like we hang out with our friends multiple times a week anymore. So doing things alone has been like a big part of this whole experience. And so that was a big one to do alone. That's not just like going to get a coffee or even going out to dinner or whatever alone. That's like an experience that's kind of meant to be a social experience. But I did it, and I'm happy that I did. And now I'll stop talking about it, maybe. But if I'm going to talk about it, this is the perfect place to do it, because who's going to stop me? But yeah, doing those things alone, like I don't want to say that, like, I've been good at being alone before, just because I think there's a difference between like being alone and being lonely. Because like I have lived alone before. I lived alone for like 3 years after college before Alec and I moved in together, because we were also long distance then. And I got used to it. I will say I've always had a pet with me. When I first moved to Lincoln, I got Frankie maybe a month after I moved here. And then since then we've added Remy, and I've had Remy, this whole time that Alec has been gone. But I already had experience being alone, and so I think I was like fairly good at it. But I feel like this has just been a whole new thing, because when I lived alone the first time, for the majority of the time, number one, we were just dating. Alec and I were. And number two, I had a lot of friends that were in that same spot, and I worked with a lot of my friends. And so you either saw them at work, or we were all hanging out a lot. We were also younger. We were 22 to 25 years old. Now I'm 6 months to 30. Things change about, like I said, how much you hang out with your friends. But that was just a different time. And I was able to be around people if I wanted to a lot more than I have been this time around. And I do feel like, sometimes it does kind of affect my mood. And sometimes I'll start dipping into that caveat of being lonely. And I think that has a lot to do with, I don't know if I've talked about this before on here. But I have anxiety and depression, and, that ebbs and flows. If you're somebody who experiences that as well, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you don't feel it at all, and sometimes you are deep in it. And that's just kind of how it is, living with that. And so in those times where I might be in kind of a valley of that, I feel the loneliness a lot more than I would if I'm, on a hill. But one thing that I've been trying to get good at, because honestly, the last couple weeks I've been kind of in that valley, but one thing when I'm in that spot is I'm pretty good at noticing it. And so I've been trying to put forth a more conscious effort of trying to bring myself back out of it by doing things that don't necessarily require other people. And I say that only because I find a lot of the times that if I'm feeling low like that, I will put an expectation on other people to bring me out of it. And that's not fair, because I'm putting an expectation on them that I can't be guaranteed that I'm going to receive back. And sometimes it just leaves me feeling worse. Not because anyone's like mean or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that like I set myself up to be like, oh, I'm going to do this and they're going to react this way and that's going to make me feel better. And if they don't, then then I didn't help myself at all. So I'm really trying to do things that don't necessarily require others like validation, because I fall into that trap as a people pleaser so much of seeking validation and gratification and like pleasing other people. And that's a slippery slope that I feel like I'm actively working every day to put effort into not doing. It's really hard though, obviously, especially if you are a people pleaser, you'll understand what I'm saying. Like that validation is nice. And it has just a lot to do with my personality. I like to help other people, but when you feel yourself slipping into like, I'm doing these things, why aren't they doing them for me? That's when you kind of need to stop and like reevaluate. So anyway, moral of all that is that I'm trying to bring myself out of those valleys by doing things that don't require other people. And the first one that I'm going to talk about, you might be like, that's completely contradictory to what you just said, but just hear me out. And that is like, when I think of my friends, if I'm, going about my day and I do something that reminds me of one of my friends, I am trying to be so good about just pulling out my phone, sending a quick text saying, hey, I was just thinking about you and just want to check in and see how you are, and hope you're doing well. And just like a quick little check-in, and I'm telling myself that I don't have any expectation that they're going to respond right away or anything like that, but just knowing that it feels good to me to let people know that I'm thinking about them. And again, that's when I feel like I'm making it hard on myself, because I'm making myself remember that I can't require them to respond a certain way or in a certain time period, but it's almost like exposure therapy, you know what I mean? And it just makes me feel good, because obviously I'm texting my friends. I mean, I can say you shouldn't seek outside validation until I'm blue in the face, but like, let's be real, sometimes it's nice, okay? And you're texting your friends, they're always going to text you back eventually, whether it's a couple hours, whether it's a couple days, we're all busy. But the fact of the matter is that like, I know, I feel good that like, oh, I was just thinking of that person and I let them know that I was thinking about them. So that's one thing that I've really been doing just in the last couple weeks, and it's been really nice. Another thing that like helps me so much, and this is one of those things that you hear people say, and a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. Everyone says that, but like, ugh, it is unfortunately so true. Like going outside, man, it helps so much. It's so grounding. And this is one of those times I'm so grateful to have a dog, because I will walk Remy. And if I'm in a point where I'm not feeling the best, like mentally, I have to make sure that I do it right when I get home from work. Because if I sit down on the couch, start scrolling, whatever, I'm going to be lost to that the entire night, which is fine sometimes, but I know I'm going to feel better when I walk her. So when I get home, I have to like get home, change clothes immediately. And when she sees me changing clothes like that, she knows what's about to happen. And then go. And I put on a podcast. I've got like a solid rotation of podcasts I listen to every week, obviously. Like my main ones are Cheers with Avery Woods, The Squeeze with Taylor and Taylor Lautner. I've been listening to Not Gonna Lie with Kylie Kelsey. I love that one a lot. I know there's more, but those are the three I can think of off the top of my head that I like religiously. Every week I'm listening to those episodes, and that kind of like gets me also looking forward to is knowing that I've got an hour-long podcast to listen to. It's so nice. And there's just something about being outside. It's springtime, so we're in the time where you can have the windows open in the house, and it just like makes the air smell better and outside smells fresher. Like if I had to pick one place in the world where I consistently have always felt happiest, it would be like in the mountains, which if you like, that might kind of surprise you if you know me, but if you've ever like gone to a mountainous area with me, you understand where I'm coming from. We went to Utah for our like Plan B honeymoon in 2020. And we stayed in a cabin up in the LaSalle Mountains in Moab, Utah. If you have never been there, highly, highly, highly recommend. I mean, the arches and like canyons and everything were beautiful, obviously, but the mountains, star of the show for me. And we stayed in a cabin up there, and it was just so wonderful. And I've had times where, you know, I've gone to Colorado with friends and stayed in Breckenridge and Vail and everything. And it just like, there's nothing like it. I have been thinking about like what I want to do for my 30th birthday, because I'm not one, I usually don't do things for my birthday because my birthday is on Christmas Eve. So a lot of people are out of town. It's just hard to like plan something. And obviously, even if I plan something for 30th, it wouldn't be on my birthday. But one of the best things to me would be like just renting a cabin in mountains somewhere. Utah would be great, but obviously that's not like super feasible for everybody. And just like having a weekend there with like all the people I love. That just sounds like so much fun. Anyway, I digress. So going outside, I'm so for real. Just step outside. It is so grounding. Even if you don't have a pet to walk, just getting out there and like taking a deep breath, especially when it's like a little chilly in the morning. Ugh, it truly feels so good. And it's so annoying that something that simple can have such a profound effect on you mentally, but it does wonders, let me tell you. Some other things that I've been doing to like kind of pull myself out of those, I don't even want to say like depressive episodes, but I guess I'll just keep calling them valleys. Those valleys that I get into, is reading, you know, a solitary activity where it's just like me playing my piano. I do play piano. Played piano since I was 5 years old. Fun fact. In case you're ever in some Bry Wyckoff trivia, keep that in your back pocket. Doing crafts. I got really into, well, during the Eras tour, I was so into making friendship bracelets. It was so much fun. It was so therapeutic for me. I probably made over the course of that tour like hundreds, and it was so much fun. But then recently for Galentine's, we did a like craft thing where we made like keychains out of beads for like your lip glosses and stuff, and it became my hyperfixation for a solid month afterwards. I made them for like every single summer Fridays I owned. I was making them for my friends to send them for Valentine's Day. So much fun to do. Such a like creative thing to do, but you can just like sit and do it. You can put something on, or you can just like listen to music while you do it. It's really relaxing, and it like feels productive and feels good to like do something with your hands. Funny story about that, actually. Just last week, I was like, I stopped at a gas station to get an Alani. I have a problem. Okay, let me be. And I was talking to the woman who was working there, and I went to go walk out, and I had my purse, and she's like, wait a second, like, is that a Summer Fridays on your bag? And it was one of mine that I had made, and it's clipped to the zipper on my purse. And I came back and was like, yeah, it is. And she's like, oh my gosh, like, where did you get that? And I was like, oh, like, I made it. She's like, you made that? She's like, you should open an Etsy store and sell those. Which, I don't know if I have, like, the discipline for that. I saw a TikTok one time that said, like, you don't have to monetize every hobby that you have. And, like, true. So I don't know if I'll do that, but they're fun to make. They're fun to make for my friends. And she actually asked to take a picture of it to send to her daughter because she was like looking for some crafty things to do. So that felt good. Another thing that, I'll be honest, like helps when I'm feeling down, like mentally, is being on social media. And that is because of the fact it's like you're alone, but you're not. Hi, Remy. Hi, Peanut. You want to come up here? Come here. Oh, okay. Hi. We say hello. Hello to the people. Hi. Remy has joined me. Anywho, because like social media, especially, I like going on and finding and following people who, like, I like going into my following tab because they're people that like I'm choosing to follow. I like their content. It makes me feel good. And like leaving nice comments on their stuff, or even like going on Instagram and leaving nice comments on my friends' posts or replying to their stories, saying something nice. It And I'm sensing a theme here as I'm saying all this, is that like doing nice things for others can really pull me out of a bad spot that I'm in myself. And there's something to be said about that. I actually just learned about instead of self-care, people are focusing a lot now on community care, and that's doing things for other people that also makes you feel good. And I'm sure there's a caveat there of like not expecting a reward or a praise or anything for it, but just doing it because it makes you feel good. And I feel like that is a lot to do with the things that I've noticed help me feel better. So that was kind of cool to like put a name to it and know that like I'm making someone else feel good by sending them a text or making them a charm or, you know, leaving a nice comment on their social media posts. But it's also like making me feel good because what you put out into the world, you receive. Oh my God, I just buffered for like 5 seconds. What you put out into the world is what you receive. And I'm such a strong believer in that. And so I really think that that's why it makes me feel good. Because I'm believing that that same effort is going to come back to me later. But I'm not expecting it immediately. All right, these solo episodes are going to be a little bit shorter just because it's just me. But one of the things I did want to start doing on these is pulling a card or two from the self-love, we're not really strangers box. Just because I feel like they're good prompts and they're fun to go through. I did think about the fact that I never have said what my like butterfly effect moment is, which it's so funny because that's something that I've been asking people at the end of episodes when I have had people on. And it's funny because now, I don't know if you've seen this on your For You page, but it's like a trend. People are like, what do you mean the butterfly effect isn't real? Or I know the butterfly effect is real because if we hadn't chosen the same job, we wouldn't be friends now. It's like stuff like that. And when I've been seeing that trend, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know I didn't start it. But I don't know, it just felt kind of kismet, like seeing that and that being something that I've incorporated into this podcast. So it's been kind of fun. But anywho, I don't think I can pick a butterfly effect thing every episode because I feel like that would negate the whole point of a butterfly effect. But I can read these cards, so that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do a couple. If you're familiar with this game at all, these are split up into like past, present, and future. So I'm going to pull from the present. Oh, I like this. What's one thing you can always count on yourself for? I was going to say being honest with myself, but that's not always true. So maybe not that. I don't think that this has like always been true previously, but I think it's always true now for me going forward. And that is like listening to myself and knowing, you know, when I need to just rest, when I need to get outside, when it's okay to stay up until 2 a.m. and finish that book, or when I need to go to bed at 9:30 that night. Just like really listening to myself and knowing when I need that rest and knowing how it's going to benefit me later and being more gentle with myself. I think it's a work in progress, but I also think that I can count on myself to put forth that conscious effort to do it. What is something you don't care to be good at? I don't know. I want to be good at everything. I guess I'm going to go not just like a talent, but like I'm going to go a little bit deeper. But I know that there are people who like truly don't let things get to them and don't care about things. And there are times for sure, being the sensitive person that I am, that I wish I was like that. But in the end, I don't care to be good at it because then I know I wouldn't be me. So yeah, I don't care to be good at not caring. Does that make sense? If we're talking just like talents, I guess like cooking, I guess. I'm a decent cook. Like I can make things and they taste good, but I'm not like an amazing cook or chef. Like I think it's an art form for sure, and there are other people who are good at it, and I'm not one of those people. I'm willing to try the things that other great cooks make, but I don't feel like an innate need to like make myself good at that. So I guess maybe that would be a more basic level answer. Okay, well that's gonna do it for this solo episode. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk through those things that I found that help me when I'm going through those like ups and downs of being in a good spot mentally or not. Had to talk about going to that concert alone. And yeah, I just think being able to be alone with yourself is such a powerful thing that somebody can do. And so, you know, maybe if you're someone who's maybe not great at that or just hasn't had a lot of experience with that, try it out. Go get coffee by yourself and take a book and make yourself sit there alone. Go to a movie alone. That's a little bit lower stakes than a concert. Yeah, just like practice being good at being alone with yourself. I think it's really healthy and it's something that I think everybody should be good at to some degree. So thank you for tuning into another episode. Come be social on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Spotify and all the places. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know what you think about these solo episodes, if you got anything from it. Yeah, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for being here.